Hey everybody, welcome. It is Friday. The weekend is finally upon us, and you know how it is. Here at Inkarnate, we kick it off with a little live stream. Today we're kind of breaking things up from what I mentioned in the schedule. Today we're going to be kind of showcasing the Battlemap Classic style. That's that very simple black and white style that is printable and useful for like in-person campaigns. So I'm really excited about showcasing this style. It's very, very practical in my opinion. So this should be a lot of fun. And we'll go ahead and get started with first creating a new map. And you'll see that the prompt comes up and you'll see that all the styles are here. And then you can see Battlemap Classic right here. You can see that there are various maps that are being showcased here just to kind of give you an idea of what you can kind of create with the tool. Lots of cool maps made by very good creators. Love this one. Great job there. So we're going to choose that style. We're going to go over to Ultra 4K. Again, if you have like a lower end machine, this might be a little lagging on your machine. But I mean, with Battlemap Classic, there are clipping masks on the stamp, so that might cause a little bit of lag. So if your machine is slow, just go with high 3K instead of the Ultra 4K editing. I'm going to stick with your basic landscape. We're going to create a new map. Hope everyone's looking forward to the weekend. So when I first pop up in the editor, you'll notice that the BG layer or the background layers default texture is this grid right here. And I do believe that the grid itself is set to this. So if I turn on the grid here, you'll notice that it lines up with that base texture. So that's kind of helpful. Hey, first time chatter Black Sheep. Hey, Andrew Wargames. Awesome. So many good people here. Love it. Andre, you Wargames. Glad that you're here. All right, so what we'll do next is I'm going to go just show you through the catalog so you can kind of get a look of where everything is. And you'll notice that the background is this transparent kind of color so that you can easily see the stamps because the line work are all in black. So what I'll do here is up here, I'm going to expand all assets so that way everything expands. The gray just means the first stamp in the set so that way you can kind of see the difference. Hey, Stealthy Rolls, glad that you're here. So you'll notice that there's all these various cliffs. I'll go ahead and turn the names on so you can also see those as well. Perfect. So you'll see that there's a variety of cliffs. There's mine carts, arches, decorative wall corners. So all very simple black line work with a clipping mask so that way you can paint them whatever kind of texture that you want or just have them be simple black and white, easy for printing. So I feel like just keeping it simple black and white is easy. So you'll see all these various types of stamps that we have here, statues. You even have some like tokens like a dragon here. I think I saw some other things like a spider, an octopus. So there's those as well. You've got this owl, giant skull, giant snake. So tons of different art to choose from, rubble. We'll just keep scrolling through so you can kind of see it all. We'll hide that so you can scroll down and see. So traps, chains, pots, all the various types of statues. You've got shackles, ruins, and I know for sure, depending on how the style is received, artists will probably create more art depending on the demand. So if you felt like this, there could be even more. There could be, absolutely. So just take a look. Lots of good stuff here. You've got crop, field, fences, fireplaces, chests, horses. Got some house exterior or interiors. So some composites that have been put together that you can use so you don't have to like piece everything together using the shape and line tools. Stairs. So lots and lots of stamps. So if I keep going down, and then there's even like the symbols, but because we're dawning back to the more classic tabletop era where it's just like pen and paper or pencil and paper, you have some of the simple symbols like trap doors, locked doors, traps, secret trap door, downward spiral with signaling that the stairs go down or up, secret doors, all the different types of stairs you can choose from. There's even these kind of frame like edges if you want to make like a parchment style map. You can piece those together. There's all the different banners, some more frame pieces that you can put together, and then some of these odd wall shapes, and it just keeps on going. There's a lot. So see, there's quite a bit of art that you can kind of see here. So lots to choose from. All right, let's go ahead and jump in with making it. So normally what I do is I have a specific type of method when I make a dungeon. I'll make all the rooms first, and then I'll connect them with a path, because when you're playing, when you're playing on an encounter, I try not to have it to where it's like a maze. There should be an A and a B, right? From A to Z, or 1 to 2. There should be a beginning and an end. Players don't want to wander around aimlessly. There should be some kind of official route that leads from beginning to the end, or start to the finish. That way it's just kind of easier for your players and they won't get lost. I mean, unless you want them to get lost. And that's always fun, right? So what I'll need to do first is I'm going to go ahead and create the shape of, make each individual room, and I'm going to use the shape tool to do that. So I'll go to the shape tool, you can just press the R key, and then I'm going to go ahead and choose a stamp. So select a stroke for a textured path. I'm going to open up the catalog. You'll see that there's not a whole lot of line or shapes yet for the stroke, so not quite a bit yet, but there will be. I'm going to use this wall right here, and the reason why is because it's not a perfectly straight line like the line tool. When you're making a line with just the color, it makes this perfectly straight line. But with this wall piece right here, the walls are all look like they've been hand drawn with like a felt tip pen or something, or a permanent ink pen. So that works really, really well because we're going for that specific style of hand drawn. So this stroke will be perfect for that. So I'm going to go ahead and continue. And then I also want to have a fill, and I'm going to use a clipping mask. And the reason why I want to use a clipping mask is so that way I can paint that BG and that FG layer separately from each other. So that way I can paint the outside of the dungeon and the inside of the dungeon without accidentally bleeding over each other. So that's kind of helpful. And what I'll do is I'll just quickly just go snap to grid. You'll find an option right here at the bottom called snap to grid. Click snap to grid. And then when I go ahead and place like this, it will snap to the grid. We'll close that up. So now that those things have been put together, I might want to change up the textures for both the BG and the FG layers. So I'll make the BG layer just be one particular color. I'll have it be this paper right here. I'll just go BG layer fill, and then I'm going to go FG layer, and then I'm going to use a different texture, and I think I'll just use this stone tile, and then I'll click fill. So now that I've done that, now I can start actually, because I have the snap to grid on, this should line up properly. When I go like this across, oopsie, with the shape tool, my mistake, you'll notice that there's my automatic grid set up and it's snapped to it. So now I can easily kind of snap these pieces together while still having this grid on the FG layer. And you can always erase it if there's parts of the map where you don't want to have the grid on it. So that's very helpful, but at least now we have a start. So what I'll do next, now that I've set up the canvas, the FGs and the BG layers, and I've also set up the shape tool for my stroke and a fill, which is that clipping mask, now I can start actually putting it together. And what I'll do is the first room I'll create is the first room, right? That kind of makes sense. So I'll go ahead and snap to grid like this. Because I can't see the grid, I might have to reset it again just to make sure that it's all set up properly. Because look carefully here, you'll see the edges are off a little bit. So I can just set it up to where I get the tiles set up right. So that's the start room, and then I'll create a path that kind of leads into that first room. Then I can start creating the end room, and I can put that anywhere I want. So maybe I want to put the end room like over here somewhere. And then I can carefully line it up with the grid. Now, if you want to be able to see the grid, you totally can. Just turn the grid on like this and then set it to a lower opacity. And now I can actually see the grid, and that way I don't have to keep adjusting each one. So start and finish are done. Now I can go and start connecting them or start creating all this different rooms. So I'll create like one room over here. And what I'll do is I'm going to start with squares and these kind of square and rectangle like shapes, and then I'll paint in the more natural features, because a dungeon generally isn't just all walls, right? A dungeon is a mix maybe between natural wall features like a cave wall, and then also these more straighter 90-degree angle like walls. So, and those contrast well. That's the secret to making a dungeon look really, really good. It's having a mix between straight lines and wiggly lines, because they contrast, right? A straight line contrasts against a wiggly line. And so we'll be sure to do that, but we'll start with our straight lines first. So there's one room there. I'll put in maybe like another room right here. Make sure that I have it lined up right, my mistake. There we go, line it up. And I'll add more to each one as well as I go. I'll just start with the basic shape of the rooms. So I'll put maybe another big one right here like this. And then put like another one over here. Let's make it a series of smaller ones. So maybe one right here like this. One here like this. Like this, and then one more. Let's do a longer one like this. Okay. This is like a hallway, and then we'll put, let's put another one right there. Okay. So now that I've done that part, now I can start to connect it. And what I'll do is I'll do a mix between straight lines and wiggly lines. And so I'll create the first one be a straight one. So I'll go like this. And that connects that one. So we'll do that. That's great. We'll have another one that connects here. Let's have this one go this way and then go over to here like this. Remember, we're creating a path that goes from one to the other. We'll add this one. Let's go across. And I think I'll adjust it to where there's a little bit more room here like this. So pretty easy stuff to put together. Put another one here like this. Okay, here we go. This one. I want to go through each one of these little rooms. So I'll go this one. Oops. There we go. Make sure that you have that merge option on, right? So that way they connect. There we go. All right. Oops. I want to make sure it lines up with the grid. And then let's have an out as well. So let's maybe have it go like this to get out of the dungeon. All right. So all the straight lines are done. Now let's go do the squiggly one. So instead, you'll go over to brush instead, and then you'll adjust your brush and pick about the size that you want. And then you can start adding in the more natural elements. And what I end up doing is I just go like this. I'll add in some parts and just give it this more natural feel to it. So this has this more cave wall-like feel to it. Connect, let's put one here. And remember to keep some of the straight lines because that will contrast. Remember that trick I told you? Straight lines contrast well against wiggly. So now you have that interesting shape there. Let's do it again here at this entrance. But this time I have some space over here. So I'll create this nice circular-like shape over here. I'll make sure that it kind of connects a little bit easier. And then maybe have it go off this way as well. Like that. Now you have that nice shape there. And it's not too difficult to figure out like when to add the more squiggly parts. It's just when you have room, right? See, I have all this room right here. So I can go over here and then just start applying it. And then I have these nice squigglies. I try to kind of make the shape more interesting instead of having these perfect, like, oval-like curves. I try to make it just a little bit more interesting. Let's do the same thing here. There's a lot of room over here, so let's maybe connect this, and then we'll add another one over here like this to this shape. In fact, you know what? I'll actually make those paths that you just can walk through, so I'll undo this one. Let's do it again real quick. And just have it be to where they can walk like this. And then maybe there's like a gauntlet in there or something interesting. And then I don't mind connecting. Normally I wouldn't connect two rooms to each other, especially if it pushes the players way ahead. But what I will do sometimes is I will connect two rooms and then have like a bunch of rubble blocking the way. So I could have like this connect into this one. And then I'll put a bunch of rubble there that kind of blocks all of that. Okay. All right. Here we go. We can talk, if you guys have questions and stuff, we can go ahead and answer those at the end of the stream. But for right now, it's just like the musical rogue seg. I'll focus on the topic at hand, and then we will absolutely answer any questions that people might have about 2.0. Okay. I'm totally open. I don't want people to feel like they've been stranded or anything. So let's just continue on track. I'll go ahead and continue what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and add this little more interesting shape right there. Maybe add a little circle right here like this. I think that looks good. And there's a lot of room right here. So let's create like a little bulb right at the top right here. Like that. There we go. That looks good. And this is the last room. So we'll make it a little bit bigger. So I'll go ahead and kind of piece it together to make sure it looks right. Let's see here. I think we might be able to connect it like this. There we go. Let's see here. What else can we do here? I think, let me take a look at it. Oh, there's a lot of room right here. So let's maybe create another room right here that kind of connects it. So we'll add here. Here we do have a lot of kind of rectangle shapes. Let's maybe break it up and create more interesting shapes like this. So that could be more interesting, something like that. That looks good. Got some room there. And then maybe let's change it up and then add some pieces like this. I think that should make it a little more interesting. There we go. That looks good. Okay, I think that looks all right. Let's see here. What else can we do? Oh, there's a lot of room right here. So let's maybe create a little room that goes right there. And I think there's enough room for one more room right there. Okay, I think that looks good. We're at 91 changes. Let's go ahead and save real quick. So I'll quickly save it. We're just going to call this a simple dungeon. So we've done the first steps. We prepped the canvas, then we went ahead and prepped the shape tool, and then we went ahead and made each individual room, starting with the first room, the starting room, and then moving on to the end room, and then created all the separate rooms in between. And then we connected them, and then we went ahead and made the more natural features. So you kind of get the general idea on how that part works. Now that I have the grid set up and I'm not making any more of that, I can go ahead and just turn the grid off. I don't need it anymore, okay? So one thing I might want to do is, this is just me, this is no particular order in which you decide to do this, but I generally like to paint the outside of the walls on the outside where there's like basically just mountain or whatever, or earth or whatever it might be. I'll go over to the brush tool. I'll make sure that I'm sent to the background layer. And then I'm going to go open up the catalog and I'm going to click this tight or this rocky cross hatching because I want to show that it's like natural. So I'll put rock. And then from there, I'll go out over to my edgy brush. And then I'll go ahead and turn the smooth off. Let's bring the size a little bit bigger. And then I'm just going to apply just to see what it looks like. I think that looks good. And then I'm going to go ahead and just go around the edge like this. Around each edge. There we go. I might even bring the size down a little bit smaller. There we go. And just going to go around each edge. Make sure that you show some white in the center. A little bit. That looks good. I'm just going to go around the whole thing. And I'm basically just going around the line itself. That big, fat, thick black line there. There we go. Awesome. Okay, just keep going. We're almost there. We just have to continue painting the last bit of stuff here. Getting close. Okay. All right. This looks good. So I think that's okay for now. So now we have that nice outline. You can also make it a little bit thicker if you want by adding even more shadowing. There is a texture that allows you to just do straight up shading. So I can go in right here, show names, and you notice that there is down here at the bottom, there should be some shading. Which one is it? Here it is, shading dense. So you can continue to add more shading along those edges if you want to. But for now, at least we have a distinction between the inside of the dungeon and outside of it, right? That part's easy. The next part is that what I'll end up doing is create the inner walls. And the inner walls can be straight, like human-made or a species-made wall, and they can also be a squiggly natural line, like maybe a little cliff step. It's not really a cliff, it's more like a ledge, right? That's made out of earth, and you can just walk on top of it. So how is it that I show depth in the dungeon, right? And so we're going to do two things. So first, we'll go ahead and start in the main room, and I'll create some interior walls. And there are a couple ways to do that. What I'll do is probably just use the line tool, and then I'll also use the pen. And let's say that I wanted to create some walls, then I could easily just connect like this, put them together, and then I can have this little room right here that people can go inside of. So maybe there's a switch inside of this room your players have to go to maybe unlock something or to try to get into something. So that's kind of helpful, some interior walls there that are nice. And then, so interior walls are not complex, and knowing where to put them is not complex either. What you don't want to do is divide the shape of your dungeon room in this weird way. For instance, you might not want to have like a wall that kind of goes like this, right? It just looks kind of weird. So follow more of the grid. That will be helpful. Let's say that I want to create a room. Let's turn the merge shape off and turn the clip fill off. Let's say that I wanted to create a room like this that you had to, that you could go inside of like this. I can go with the shape tool. I have no fill on. Then I go in and I create a little door right here. And now you can walk inside of that room. Yeah, a maze room. Absolutely. A maze room would be cool. I would use a big room for that, like this room right here. This is a large enough room to where we could absolutely do a maze. But maybe I wanted to show like a series of like dungeons or something. So we could do that too. Let's go ahead and leave that there. I kind of like that. That looks fine there. So that part's not hard. But what about creating more natural like steps? And so what I end up doing is go back to the line tool, select this hill right here. And the reason why I'm choosing the hill is because I want to represent that this is not a cliff that you have to climb up on top of. All it is a rock shelf. So all you have to do is just take one step up. It's only about anywhere, it can range anywhere between a couple inches or maybe a foot or two. It's something that your players can just walk on top of. The cliff has these straight lines going all the way through, but the line work on the hill is a little broken. And what that will do is it will make it kind of obvious to your players that it's not a cliff, it's actually just a step. And this is the trick to making your shapes, kind of making the more natural shapes look better. And so when you're making the natural shapes, I generally apply them to rooms where there's more natural walls. So see, this room right here has this natural wall right here. That's going to work better. And so what I'll do is I'll start where the natural wall begins, and then with the line tool, I'll create this shape. So now I have this step up. And I'll just continually following that logic. Let's say I want to add another step that just goes right here like that. So there's my other step. Let's say I want to keep adding more steps. So let's add one here. Let's add another one right here. Now, when you're adding multiple, don't always have them be the exact same. So for instance, when I'm putting this together, don't all have them be like this, where they're all kind of evenly apart from each other like this. You can do that. But when it comes to rock formations, what you're going to see is that things are a little bit different. You might have this shape connect into this one, and then you might have one that goes off like this, and then have another one that goes up and connects like this. And you see that there's more interesting shapes when you make it that way, okay? And you will notice that the tile kind of bleeds over the hill. That's okay. What I'll end up doing is I'll go back and I'll take that brush, and then I'll go ahead and bring the size of it down, if I can. And then I'll just go over it like this. Make sure you're set to FG layer. And I'll just go over it like this. And then that way I make sure that there isn't this strange line work that goes over those edges. So now it looks a little bit more natural. All right, so now you've got that part, right? Let's go ahead and do that, the natural parts to every segment that I can find where there's some natural stairs. And I think right here would be good. Let's add another one right here like this. Let's put another one that connects like this. And then we can put a couple that kind of connect in this hallway like that. And what I'll end up doing is I generally won't paint this part until I finish laying down all those parts. But just so you can see how I do it. There we go. I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and finish it up. Add some more. And we are going to give more depth. We have to do the painting first, because if you want to show depth in it, you have to use the shading texture, but we're not there yet. First, we need to do the step one, right? Let's put all the little cliff faces in. So I'll put this in, put another one there, put one kind of here. I think that looks good. And I'll put another one right there. Let's see here. I think what I'll do is I'll have it to where it goes like this, like an interesting shape, like this, and then you kind of go up these natural stairs, and it goes up like that. I think that looks good. Put one there, and then maybe another one right there like that. I think that looks good. Let's add some more natural stairs kind of going right here like this. Good. Same thing here. There we go. I think, let's go ahead and put one right here. Okay. All right. So someone was asking, how do we add the depth part? Because so far, all it looks like is just these squiggly lines that are on the map, right? So how is it that I kind of portray that? Normally I do this part a little bit later, but since someone asked, it doesn't hurt to go ahead and do it. So let's go ahead and do that. Just give me a second to kind of do the last painting along these edges here. There we go. All right. So now that we've done that part, the trick to doing showing depth is to use the shade texture. So you have this shade dense, and then you also have a lighter shade. And what you simply need to do is just go right in front of the cliff like this and just put a little bit of shade right along that ledge. And then when you take a step back, you'll notice that already it looks like those parts are kind of more elevated. So you're going to put the shade part on the side of the cliff, or not the cliff, but on the ledge where it's on the down part of the ledge there. So like this, it's on this part, showing that the ledge is going up. Like this, so a little bit here, here. So you're starting to see now how the depth part happens. You just go ahead and add that little bit of shadow along these edges here, and you've already got a little bit of a sense of depth beginning to develop. And then I can always bring the size down, bring the brush size just down a little bit more. And then if you wanted to show even more depth, like it was a little bit higher up, then you could just go over it again and show a thicker piece with a smaller brush along that edge there. So it's not too complex on how to kind of put together your natural shapes there. Pretty easy stuff. Let me take a look, make sure I got every ledge there. Yeah, that looks good. Got that one, that one. Oh, I missed one right here. Let's get that one. And you can also do a little bit of that shading also along the, it's up to you, but you can also paint the entire inner part of the wall as well. So if you want to take like a larger brush and go along this ledge right here, now take a step back and it will give a sense of depth as well. You can also do that, like all along this ledge. And that will, again, kind of create this sense of depth. And that's just up to you, right? It's up to you, because what I would use a lot of these maps for is printing. And so the more shading that you do with this style, the more ink your printer is going to eat up. So this is when it's really an artistic choice and a practical choice about whether or not you want to have all this ink being used when you're printing. So that's really up to you. But because the artist in me just wants to add more and more detail, that's just the way that my little brain works. I just want to go, oh, more. There could always be more. It's never going to end. There could always be more. I can never stop with just, oh, well, I've done that part. No, I want to keep adding to it. So I'm not sure if other people also experience that when they're working on their maps. I certainly do. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do this inner shadow stuff so that way at least we have a little bit of depth in the walls. And I'm not going to use any filters or anything. We're just going to stick with a pure black and white simple map. So no filters, nothing fancy. Just kind of keep it nice and classic, just like the classic tabletop when your grandparents were painting it. Okay, we're almost there. All right, sweet. So that is at least creating a little bit more depth now along there. So it comes together. We're at 177 shades. Let's save it. Okay. Once it's saved, then we'll go ahead and start working on the next parts that I did. We'll probably add a couple more inner walls, I think. And then we'll go ahead and move on to adding stairs. Another trick that you can do to show depth is to add stairs, right? Stairs indicate there's a change in the elevation a little bit, right? And so that's helpful. So we'll make sure to throw that in. First, I'll continue with a few more inner walls. I think that would be kind of good. Like maybe I want to create like separate chambers. Like maybe I want to have one here like this when you go in, and then there's just a whole separate room. There's a hallway on the outside, and then you go in to this section. So let's maybe put like a door right here, and then I'll quickly paint along that ledge here so that way you can kind of see that there's some shadow of that wall there. I think that looks okay. And then let's also separate, maybe turn this room into multiple rooms. One there. Let's put another one right here like this. And then I'll go ahead and create separate doors. Put one door on that side and one door on this side. There we go. So now we have those separate rooms there. That looks good. This long corridor right here might also work well with having some separate rooms. So let's do that. Perfect. And then this time I'll put the rooms in the center. Or the doors in the center. Oopsie, my mistake. Let's do that again. There we go. And then you do that painting. Let's see here. Perfect. Where are we at for time here? See, only 30 minutes in and we've already done so much. I mean, all that's left really is just a bit of details. You can really make dungeons so fast with this style. It's insane on how quickly you can do it because it's just a simple style, right? You don't actually have to apply all this textures and layers and depth and super amount of shadow work. It's the point of the style is to have it as simplistic as possible. It's printable and it's really easy to make these. You can make a full-on map like this in probably like an hour. Just following that particular method is the way that you make it quickly. Remember prepping the canvas and doing all those other steps. That just makes it easier. All right, we're getting close. I think what we should do is add in the stairs. So I'll go in here and add in stair. I'm just going to use these ones. You can also use these simple stairs as well if you want to use those ones. Like maybe you prefer that. Let me show you what each one looks like. Like there's one right there like that. And I'm going to actually push it down a layer. Let's see here. Let's push. I'm going to take this shape right here. I'm going to move the clip mask down a layer. There we go. So that way I can put the stairs underneath the line work, the stroke of the shape, but the stairs will still be above the clip mask. So you see why I kind of did that. So I don't know which one looks better. I think both stairs work fine to me. It doesn't really matter which one we use. But we can start throwing in stairs to show some depth. So I can start connecting like various stairs, like put some stairs there. I want to show some height. Let's put some stairs there, there. These straight hallways right here are what I think work really, really well for stairs. And then also you can also apply them to, I'm going to turn the snap to grid off. You can also apply them to these kind of more natural ones as well. I think it looks really good if you throw in some staircases. Just what I would do is don't line them up where they're perfectly separated apart. Have some of them clustered together. Have some of them be really far away. All of these are really, really helpful. Okay, let's go ahead and continue adding. Let's put a staircase here. I think that would look good. One here as well. I generally put them right before rooms just to kind of show that maybe a room is lower or higher. So very, very helpful. I put a bunch of stairs over here to show that you're leading out. Same thing here. I'm going to put a bunch of stairs right here so that way it's showing that you're exiting the dungeon. And then I still want to add a couple more. Like this is a good spot right here, kind of leading into that room. And there's also some of these more squiggly rooms right here. Let's go ahead and throw in some stairs inside of there as well. And if you see that the tile work is on top of that, that's not a problem. You just erase it. Not complex. So super easy stuff. So that part's been put together. Okay. So dungeon is dang close to done. We just have to add in those little details, right? So what I'll generally do with details is I'll start in the starting room first. And then I'll move my way from room to room as I go. And that way I can set myself like a pace. I've got a goal. I start, and then I finish at the end. And then also if I find that two rooms are separated, like this space right here, remember we mentioned that a player might miss this room altogether or this room right here if you have two separate ways like that. So we'll make sure to close that off. So we'll start in the starting room. And I think what I like to do in a lot of starting rooms is add like a brazier or something that kind of represents like a light source. That way it kind of shows like, hey, you're going to go out of the dungeon into the light. So I'll use like a brazier for that. You see there's a couple right here. I'll just take this one right here and just place it right there. So now I have a brazier there. And I'll place one right here as well at the exit. So that way I have two braziers, so that way it's a kind of when your players kind of when they're realizing, oh wait a minute, I'm in the final room, it's because I have the same brazier that's at the beginning as at the end, and then I'll use something different for light sources in the other rooms. So that way it's kind of conveys or telegraphs to the players like, oh, this is the end here. Great. So in the first room, I might want to set maybe like tell a story of some kind, that way I'm kind of preparing my players for the thing. So what I'll end up doing is I have to decide on a couple things. One, there is a more simplistic, more art style right here where there's doors, false doors, and then they have some like simple little symbols and icons that are floating around. So let me see if I can find those real quick. Where are you? Scroll up. I know it's in here. It's kind of hard to pick which one you want. Let me expand all real quick. My mistake. There we go. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. This looks right. So you have all these different pieces. I'm trying to figure out which one I want to use. The more detailed assets, which means there's a little bit more line work, or if I want to use the less detailed stuff. Let's see here. Brick wall pieces. I think we're going to use a little bit of detail. I think that'll be okay. So let's go ahead and use that rubble stuff to cordon off this real quick first. So I'll put a series of these stamps just right here. And what this represents is like a bunch of rubble, like maybe this tunnel collapsed and your players can't get through it. So that's been cut off. So now the players are forced to take this route this way. This has been blocked off. It's always a good thing in there. I don't want my players to have to get backtracked too much. Players don't really care for that. I don't, at least. Okay, so with the first room, I generally don't have any combat or any traps or anything like that. I usually just have like maybe a chest or a table or a little room or something that kind of gets the players kind of, I don't know, familiar with the room, familiar with it. So we'll add in like maybe a chair. We'll add in a table as well. I'm going to create a simple table, nothing crazy. We'll put a table right here and then maybe a bench. Maybe a chair right here. Let's put it right there. I think that looks good. And then you have this table, and then we'll put something that's going to be on that table. Not sure what that will be yet. Something to kind of let players know, like maybe there's a tool or something that's required. I put like a hammer on here like this. So there's a tool, so something the players can interact with. Okay, and then maybe I want to add in some other things like a column or a pillar. Go ahead and use this. Decent size. Pillars work really well more towards more straight lines. So if I put like a pillar here, a pillar there, and a pillar there, and I'll make sure that these are kind of lined up. I don't know if they work well in this first room, actually, now that I look at it. Let's see here. Let's maybe have a skeleton. Might be a good idea. Maybe your players have like a spell or an enchantment or something that allows you to talk to the dead. So maybe whoever was in charge down here watching this space died, and maybe they cast a spell to kind of talk with this skeleton. I think that would be kind of cool. Kind of sets the stage a little bit. That kind of nice. And then I think, oh yeah, let's maybe put like a coffin in here somewhere. No, we'll add a crypt part later. Let's add in a statue. I think that would be good. Let's add in one statue. Let's put it right here. It's something that your players can interact with. Yeah, security checkpoint. I love that. A ledger. Great stuff. Oh, great suggestions. Love it. And feel free to make suggestions too. I do check the chat often. You know what? A key of some kind. I kind of like that idea, and I think there is a key. And a ski. I don't know if you guys know what a ski is. I don't. Okay, I'm not seeing it there. Let's see here. I think I saw it at the bottom. Let me check. Some of the stamps aren't in here, I think. Okay, well. Yeah, some of them might be still in the kind of early access part. Let's take a look here. Yep, not really seeing those particular stamps that I was looking for. Oops. No, there isn't. And in fact, I've been making a lot of maps with some art that hasn't been added yet. So I think that's why I got confused. I was using more of an admin part, so that's my mistake there. Okay. So far, I think this is enough for this room. And I'm not going to do every room. We have about 20 minutes left, so I'll do as many rooms as possible. I think we can do a pillar now. This room is mostly straight lines, so I can put a pillar in each corner. I think that always looks good. Oh, not in that corner, obviously, because that is right where this, how you get in, so that won't work. And then I think some statues might be a good idea. Let's put some wall statues on. So I put like a statue like right there, and then another one right here, like this, and maybe another one like this. There we go. Line that up. I think that looks good. And then I can maybe put like a summon circle inside of there. Might be a good detail. Let's do this one because it's got that on top right there. I'll probably have to take a little bit of the shadow here and kind of erase the lines on there. There we go. That room looks good. Go into that next room. I personally, my players cannot get enough of cannons. I think there might be a cannon. Has that piece been added? Now I'm all confused because I don't remember which ones have been added in. Well, there it is right there. Oh, it's because I spelled it wrong. Of course. Okay. Let's put like a cannon in here, and this will be kind of fun. I'll have my players maybe have to maybe fend off like a horde of like monsters that come out of the ground. Like this can be like a combat focused one. And so I'll maybe put like some cannons on the high ground that players can kind of use. So I'll put one right here, one right there, and then players can get to the high ground and then try to shoot enemies that are coming out of the ground. There should be a hole. I think this one right here looks great. Let's do this one. Let's see here. This one might be good. Maybe they're coming out of a hole in the ground. Let's try this one. Yeah, let's have them coming out of a hole in the ground. Maybe in this corner. So one hole there, and then put another one in this corner. Right here. This will look good. And then that way, when your players are going into combat, what they're trying to do is get the high ground and then use the cannon to blast monsters or some kind of creatures that are coming out of these pits right here. I think that might be nice. Okay, let's keep going here. Let's see here. You know, I think I will add a room that has like a mushroom theme. Let's maybe use this room for that. I think that should be okay. Let's maybe put this up a layer. I want them to go above the line work. So I'll add a couple mushrooms along the edges here like this. Put one there, one right there, one here. Let's maybe line them along this edge here. Let's put one right there. That way you have something that your players, they can like shoot a piece of the mushroom or whatever. Put pieces there, one here. What I don't want to do is block too much of the cannon. So I'll make sure that there is room for your players to do that. There we go. So we have some mushrooms there. And then you can also just paint these if you don't want the shading to be on top of it. So I just go in with a light brush, just lightly brush these. So that way I'm not getting that crazy line work on it. There we go. See, everything has a clipping mask. Almost all stamps have a clipping mask. So they're going to pick up whatever's on the FG layer. There we go. Almost there. Get that one. This one. Okay. Got some nice mushrooms in that room. That room looks good. Let's also take those pillars again. Put them in this room. There we go. Let's put like maybe a fallen statue or something. Maybe like a ruined statue might be good there, or an actual statue. Let's put a statue in here like this. And let's maybe put the statue in the center of the room like this. And then your players maybe have to do an offering to it. We could actually put it right here. And then put like, I don't know, like a brazier or something. And then your players have to light it to activate something. So we'll take this brazier right here and put it in the front like this. And then your players have to like do something to activate it. I'm not sure. Oh, that'd be cool. I like that hidden room idea. For instance, maybe we could have this be a hidden room right here. I love that idea. So let's do that. I love that. So let's put a cannon, put a wall right here like that. And then maybe your players can break that wall. And then maybe we could put like a chest or something inside of it. I absolutely love that idea. And there are a couple different chest ones. This is like a more fancy chest, and there's more of this wooden one right here. Because this is a secret room and it's like hard to kind of find, it might be helpful to put the fancy chest in there, while the more less fancy chests can be and not so hidden. And I think I do want to throw one chest in here somewhere. So I'll throw that right there. Okay, I'm going to quickly save because there's a lot of changes. Hey, first time chatter. Yep, absolutely. Okay. Use the wooden one for a mimic. That'd be cool. maybe put a couple chests in the last room, and you have to fight a couple mimics. Wouldn't that be tough? Okay, that looks good. Let's see here. Where are we at? That room. Next room. Let's do a room with traps. So, for instance, maybe I want to have a bunch of spikes like come out of the walls right here. So I'll place a couple spikes coming out of the wall here. And some of you might say, well, why is it that I want to show the traps? You know, right? Maybe you want to have them be hidden. That's fine too, but I've found that making traps visible is actually more interesting because your players can use traps to their advantage, right? If they're being chased by some bad guys, they can trip them, kick them into a trap, whatever. So some traps can be hidden and some traps can be visible. I like to do both. Some are invisible and some are visible, and that way your players can take advantage of them. They can be taken advantage of by the invisible traps, but then take advantage of the ones that are. So you don't always have to have your traps be visible. There is I think there might be a trap symbol. Let me see here. I don't think so. There it is right there. There's a trap symbol as well. If you prefer to do that instead, you totally can. So maybe I want to put like a trap like that. That is very helpful. So we got a trap there. Let's put a trap in the center of this room. While I have it selected, I'll throw a bunch of traps. Let's put one, maybe one right here. Players think they can go and look for something in there. We'll put a trap there. Let's put one. Let's put one maybe. Let me take a look around. Oh, this room right here has got some nice spots. Let's maybe throw in a trap or two in there. Let's throw in one there and another one right there. There we go. So you have lots of different traps you can choose from. I think there is a spiky one as well. Let me type in trap again. This one right here, this saw. So you can have like an interesting trap where blades are going back and forth. I usually just put it like on the line where it is, and then you can have the blade going back and forth like this. You don't have to show that there if you don't want to. That's up to you. Ooh, I love that. That's a great one, Musical Rogue. I love this. Be sneaky. It's like, oh, all the traps are visible, and then and then they stumble into one that's not. I love that. That's funny. Okay, let's keep on adding more stuff here. Let's see, what room are we at now? And where are we at for time? 48? Cool. We'll go for 12 more minutes, and then we'll call it good. I think overall, you guys have got the general idea. Adding the details is probably the most complex part because you're using a lot of stamps and you're painting in some spots and you're doing all this stuff. So I think that part is the most time consuming, but the easiest part is just making the dungeon itself, using the shape tool and the line tool, and then using the painting techniques that we talked about. So it's not too complex to make a dungeon. With this, I did notice that there was some issues with 2.0 and using this style because of clipping mask. So I'll bring that up with the developers about that. I think let's go ahead and do this room right here. We're just going to keep going until we run out of time. I like to add more rubble. And one of the best places to add rubble is where there's a natural wall. So I like to add them just right along the wall here to show that some of that wall like collapsed or fell over. So I can add that. Again, these work best where the wall is natural. That, or if you want to show that there's a collapsed part of a wall, like I wanted to maybe show that this part of the wall broke, I can just put a little piece of rubble right there to show that you could go through that part of the wall. That's up to you. But the natural parts, I think, work best, in my opinion. So I'll put one maybe along this ledge here. Maybe all along this ledge, just to kind of also give it a sense of more height, because these rubble stamps right here are kind of dark. And so it kind of creates this illusion that it creates a little bit more depth right there. So I kind of like that. Let's see here. Ooh, let's put one right here along this wall. Along this wall. sometimes I won't always follow my steps all the way through. Sometimes if I have a stamp selected where I'm going to use a lot of it, I'll just start putting those down in every room and depart from the room that I'm working on currently. That's up to you. It's always good to just be flexible like that instead of always being like, no, I have to follow this step and this one. I generally don't do that. I'll generally follow some steps and then break off. Okay, add this one. Let's go ahead and put some more along here. I think that looks good. Oop, let's actually put one in here as well. That corner, I think, looks good. Let me take a step back where we're at. That looks good. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Ooh. Let's add in some, like, gates. Like this railing right here, but it's not railing. I'm going to make this like a door. Well, we could use this revolving door. I like that idea. Maybe there's like a revolving door right here that players don't know about. Like they're not sure that it's an actual wall, but you can have it rotate. So I think maybe like a revolving door might look cool right there. I like that. Let's see here. What else do we have? This is a trap door for a floor. So maybe if I wanted to, let's say that you did actually connect the rooms so your players can get lost and stuff. These little floor trap doors are really useful. So for like, I wouldn't say quick travel, but something like that. So if I want to put like a floor trap door for a floor right there, and then I can put like another one over here, and that way players, let's say that it is where there's not a beginning to end, and there's multiple routes you can take. I'll generally implement these trap floor doors that kind of quick travel you from one side of the dungeon to the other. I'll generally add stuff like that if I am going to have a dungeon where my paths kind of wigwag and go everywhere instead of just a straight line going from beginning to end. That way my players don't feel like they're traversing half the dungeon to go back to a place where, oh shoot, they missed the key. Generally in that situation, I'll just put the key in a different location, a different room that they're currently in. But if you're just dead set on having a key or having something in a certain room where players have to backtrack, just adding those quick travel like locations like a quick floor trap door or whatever is a great way to do that. I don't generally do that with my players. It really just depends on what kind of players that you have. But I'll put those there so that way there is like this kind of quick travel option there. Okay, where are we at for time? Let's go ahead and, let's see here. I'm going to see what our options are. Oh, a grate. That'd be kind of cool. Be a good idea. Maybe have a certain area be like a sewer area. That would be kind of nice. This will be included in 2.0. Absolutely. Yep. And we don't have an exact release date for 2.0, but I think I've heard from some people on the team that we're hoping to kind of release it this summer, but don't quote me on that because I don't know for certain. We try not to add release dates, because we try to make sure that it's complete. We don't want to rush our devs into making it on a certain date and then it's just filled with bugs. We kind of just take our time and allow our devs to kind of make things right, like the artists make it right, and there's not deadlines that kind of make them feel pressured to get things done quickly without kind of sacrificing quality. So that's why we don't generally give dates. We'd like to, but we just don't know. We want to make sure that it's bug free, make sure that the art works well. So we're just kind of taking our time, but I do think that sometime this summer is the most likely time. So I don't want to give you a date because I just don't have one, but it's going to be soon-ish, just like Space Time said there. It is soonish, but if you want a more definitive date, summer would be a good way of kind of putting it, but I don't know exactly for sure. I would love it to be even sooner, but I don't know. I'm just going to add in a couple more stairs in this end room here. Just want to be able to show that there's some depth with this staircase right here. There we go. Looks good. Let me take a step back. Where are we at for time? All right. Well, I think that's it. Oh, there's going to be a masterclass coming up soon. I'm not even remembering what our next masterclass even is. I think I might have forgotten what it was. Maybe shops. I think it might be shops. Maybe I don't really know. You have to check the stream calendar on Discord. But anyway, I hope you guys kind of got the general idea. I'll quickly recap on the steps just so that you're not forgetting. And just so you know, this process that I'm telling you on making a dungeon applies for every style. So you can do it with watercolor city, with watercolor battle maps. You can do it with fantasy battle maps. It doesn't really matter. But I generally will always start with prepping the canvas, prepping the FG and BG layers. Then I'll prep the shape tool so that way I can paint the outside and the inside of the dungeon separately. And then I'll make sure that there's a clip mask. Again, that way I can paint things separately. And then I'll start connecting. I'll make the beginning room, ending room. I'll connect each room with a path that kind of leads from beginning to end. And then from there, I'll start adding in all the details. I'll usually put in like stairs first, pillars, stuff that's natural, that's built into it, right? Why add a crate or a barrel when I haven't even added stairs and I haven't added those other type of structural elements? A stair is a part of the structure. A pillar is a part of the structure. So I won't add any details that are movable like a box or a crate quite yet. I'll go with that stuff and then I'll go into details. I'll start in each room, but it can kind of vary depending on what you're putting together, what stamp that you have selected at the time, right? Earlier, I had a trap selected and I just added traps to every room instead of just sticking to one room. It's up to you on which works better for you. Some of you might hyper focus better and just go finish one room from beginning to end, while others might be like, you know what, my brain is scattered, it's all over the place. I have this stamp, use it already. It doesn't really matter. There's no real right or wrong way on putting it together, but I have noticed that it's okay to be loose and it's also okay to be hyper-focused on just finishing one room from beginning to end. It's all really a matter of personal opinion, right? And the way that works best for you. All right, so everybody, thanks a lot for watching. You figured out how to make a dungeon. Remember, it applies to every style. And I will see you all next Wednesday for the masterclass, because I absolutely love our masterclasses. Please stay safe and healthy. Merry map making, and I will see you all on Discord, okay? Take it easy, everyone. Bye.